All right, this is a super weird short story. It's one of my favorite ones to teach in class because it actually teaches second person perspective, which we don't get a whole lot of short stories or literature in that point of view or that narration. It's super weird. If you've ever gone through orientation at a new job, perhaps you can relate to this. And trigger warning, there's some weird stuff in the story. And there is a paragraph that I usually skip when I'm teaching it to certain high school classes, but you've been warned. Orientation, written in 1994 by Daniel Orozco. Those are the offices. These are the cubicles. That's my cubicle there. This is your cubicle. This is your phone. Never answer your phone. Let the voicemail system answer it. This is your voicemail system manual. There's no personal phone calls allowed. We do, however, allow for emergencies. If you must make an emergency phone call, ask your supervisor first. If you can't find your supervisor, ask Philip Spears, who sits over there. He'll check with Clarissa Nix, who sits over there. If you make an emergency phone call without asking, you may be let go. These are your in and out boxes. All the forms in your inbox must be logged in by the date shown in the upper left-hand corner, initialed by your upper right-hand corner, and distributed to the processing analyst whose name is numerically coded in the lower left-hand corner. The lower right-hand corner is left blank. Here's your process analyst numerical code index, and here's your forms processing procedures manual. You must pace your work. What do I mean? I'm glad you asked. We pace our work according to the 8-hour workday. If you have 12 hours of work in your inbox, for example, you must compress that work into the 8-hour workday. If you have 1 hour of work in your inbox, you must expand that work to fill the 8-hour workday. That's a good question. Feel free to ask questions. Ask too many questions, however, and you'll maybe let go. This is our receptionist. She's a temp. We go through receptionists here. They quit with alarming frequency. Be polite and civil to the temps. Learn their names and invite them to lunch occasionally. But don't get too close to them, as it only makes it more difficult when they leave. And they always leave. You can be sure of that. The men's room is over there. The women's room is over there. John LaFontaine, who sits over there, uses the women's room occasionally. He says it's accidental. We know better, but we let it pass. John LaFontaine is harmless. His forays into the forbidden territory of women's rooms simply is a benign thrill, a faint blip on the dull, flat line of his life. Russell Nash, who sits in the cubicle to your left, is in love with Amanda Pierce, who sits in the cubicle to your right. They ride the same bus together after work. For Amanda Pierce, it is just a tedious bus ride made less tedious by the idle nattering of Nussel Rash, but for Nussel Rash, it is the highlight of his day. It is the highlight of his life. Russell Nash has put on 40 pounds and grows fatter with each passing month, nibbling on chips and cookies while peeking glumly over the petition at Amanda Pierce and gorging himself at home on cold pizza and ice cream while watching adult videos on TV. Amanda Pierce in the cubicle to your right has a 6-year-old son named Jamie who is autistic. Her cubicle is plastered from top to bottom with the boy's crayon artwork. Sheet after sheet of precisely drawn concentric circles and ellipses in black and yellow. She rotates them every other Friday. Be sure to comment on them. Amanda Pierce also has a husband who is a lawyer. He subjects her to an escalating array of painful and humiliating sex games to which Amanda Pierce reluctantly submits. She comes to work exhausted and freshly wounded each morning, wincing from the abrasions on her breasts, on the bruises on her abdomen, and on the second-degree burns on the backs of her thighs. Amanda Pierce, who tolerates Russell Nash, is in love with Albert Bosch, whose office is over there. Albert Bosch, who only dimly registers Amanda Pierce's existence, has eyes only for Ellie Tapper, who sits over there. Ellie Tapper, who hates Albert Bosch, would walk through fire for Curtis Lane, but Curtis Lane hates Ellie Tapper. In the world of funny place. I mean, not in a funny sense, of course. Anika Bloom sits in that cubicle. Last year, while reviewing quarterly reports in a meeting with Barry Hacker, Anika Bloom's left palm began to bleed. She fell into a trance, stared into her hand, and told Barry Hacker when and how his wife would die. We laughed it off. She was, after all, a new employee, but Barry Hacker's wife is dead. So, unless you want to know when and how you'll die, never talk to Anika Bloom. Cohen Heavey sits in that cubicle over there. He was new once, just like you. We warned him about Anika Bloom. At last year's Christmas potluck, he felt sorry for her when he saw no one was talking to her. John Heavey brought her a drink. He hasn't been himself since. John Heavey is doomed. There's nothing he can do about it, and we are powerless to help. Stay away from Cohen Heavey. Never give any of your work to him. If he asks to do something, tell him you have to check with me. If he asks again, tell him I haven't gotten back to you. This is the fire exit. There are several on this floor, and they are marked accordingly. We have a floor evacuation review every 3 months, and an escape room quiz once a month. We have our biannual fire drill twice a year, and our annual earthquake drill once a year. These are precautions only. These things never happen. For your imagination, we have a comprehensive health plan. Any catastrophic illness, any unforeseen tragedy is completely covered. All dependents are completely covered. Larry Bagdakian, who sits over there, has 6 daughters. If anything were to happen to any of his girls or to all of them, if all 6 were simultaneously fall victim to illness or injury, stricken with a hideous degenerative muscle disease or some rare toxic blood disorder, sprayed with semi-automatic gunfire while on a class field trip, or attacked in their bunk beds by some prowling nocturnal lunatic, if any of these were to pass, Larry's girls would all be taken care of. Larry Bagdikian would have not have to pay a dime. He would have nothing to worry about. We also have a generous vacation and sick leave policy. We have an excellent disability insurance plan. We have a stable and profitable pension fund. We get group discounts for the symphony and block seating at the ballpark. We get commuter ticket books for the bridge. We have direct deposit. We are all members of Costco. This is our kitchenette, and this is our Mr. Coffee. We have a coffee pool into which we each pay $2 a week for coffee, filters, sugar, and Coffee Mate. If you prefer cream or a half and half to Coffee Mate, there is a special pool for $3 a week. If you prefer sweet and loaded sugar, there's a special pool for $2.50 a week. We do not do decaf. You are allowed to join the coffee pot of your choice, but you are not allowed to touch the Mr. Coffee. This is the microwave oven. You are allowed to heat food in the microwave oven. You are not, however, allowed to cook food in the microwave oven. We get 1 hour for lunch. We also get one 15-minute break in the morning and one 15-minute break in the afternoon. Always take your breaks. If you skip a break, it's gone forever. For your information, your break is a privilege, not a right. If you abuse the break policy, we are authorized to rescind your breaks. Lunch, however, is a right, not a privilege. If you abuse the lunch policy, our hands will be tied and you'll be forced to look the other way. We will not enjoy that. This is the refrigerator. You may put your lunch in it. Barry Hacker, who sits over there, steals food from the refrigerator. His petty theft is an outlet for his grief. Last year's New Year's Eve, while kissing his wife, a blood vessel burst in her brain. Barry Hacker's wife was 2 months pregnant at the time and lingered in a coma for half a year before dying. It was a tragic loss for Barry Hacker. He hasn't been himself since. Barry Hacker's wife was a beautiful woman. She was also completely covered. Barry Hacker did not have to pay a dime. But his dead wife haunts him. She haunts all of us. We have seen her reflected in the monitors of our computers, moving past our cubicles. We've seen the dim shadow of her face in our photocopies. She pencils herself in the receptionist's appointment book with the notation to see Barry Hacker. She's left messages in the receptionist's voicemail box, messages garbled by the electronic chirps and buzzes of the phone line, her voice echoing from an immense distance within the ambient hum. But the voice is hers, and beneath her voice, beneath the tidal whoosh of static and hiss, the gurgling and crying of a baby can be heard. In any case, if you bring a lunch, put a little something extra in there for Barry Hacker. We have 4 Barrys in the office. Isn't that a coincidence? This is Matthew Payne's office. He's our unit manager, and his door is always locked. We have never seen him. You will never see him, but he is here. You can be assured of that. He is all around us. This is the custodian's closet. You have no business in the custodian's closet. And this is our supplies cabinet. If you need supplies, see Curtis Lance. He will log you on the supplies cabinet authorization log, then give you a supplies authorization slip. Present your pink copy of the supplies authorization slip to Ellie Tapper. She will log you in the supplies cabinet key log, then give you the key. Because the supplies cabinet is located outside the unit manager's office, you must be very quiet. Gather your supplies quietly. The supplies cabinet is divided into 4 sections. Section 1 contains letterhead, stationery, blank paper, and envelopes, memos, and notepads, and so on. Section 2 contains pens and pencils and typewriter and printer ribbons, and the like. In Section 3, we have erasers, correction fluids, and transparent tape, glue, sticks, etc. And in Section 4, we have paper clips and push pins and scissors and razor blades. And there are the spare blades for the shredder. Do not touch the shredder, which is located over there. The shredder is of no concern to you. Gwendolyn Stitch sits in the office here. She's crazy about penguins and collects penguin knickknacks, penguin posters and coffee mugs and stationery, penguin stuffed animals, penguin jewelry, penguin sweaters and t-shirts and socks. She has a pair of penguin fuzzy slippers she wears when working late at the office. She has a tape cassette of penguin sounds which she listens to for relaxation. Her favorite colors are black and white. She has personalized license plates that read, Pen Gwen. Every morning she passes through all the cubicles to wish us a good morning. She brings Danish on Wednesdays for hump day morning and donuts on Fridays for TGIF afternoon break. She organizes the annual Christmas potluck and is in charge of the birthday list. Gwendolyn Stitch's door is always open to all of us. She will always lend an ear and put in a good word for you. She will always give you a hand or the shirt off her back or a shoulder to cry on. Because her door is always open, she hides and cries in a stall in the women's bathroom. And John LaFontaine, who, enthralled when a woman enters, sits quietly in his stall with his knees to his chest. John LaFontaine has heard her vomiting in there. We've come upon Gwendolyn Stitch huddled in the stairwell, shivering in the updraft, sipping a diet Mr. Pibb and hugging her knees. She does not let any of this interfere with her work. If it interfered with her work, she might have to be let go. Kevin Howard's in the cubicle over there. He's a serial killer, the one they call the carpet cutter, responsible for the mutilations across town. We're not supposed to know that, so don't let on. Don't worry, his compulsion inflicts itself on strangers only, and the routine established is elaborate and unwavering. The victim must be a white male, a young adult no older than 30, heavyset with dark hair and eyes and the like. The victim must be chosen at random before sunset from a public place. The victim is followed home and must put up a struggle, etc. The carnage inflicted is precise. The angle and direction of the incisions, the layering of the skin and muscle tissue, the rearrangements of the visceral organs, and so on. Kevin Howard does not let any of this interfere with his work. He's, in fact, our fastest typist. He types as if he were on fire. He's got a secret crush on Gwendolyn Stitch and leaves a red foil-wrapped Hershey's Kiss on her desk every afternoon. But he hates Anika Bloom. He keeps well away from her. In his presence, she has uncontrollable fits of shaking and trembling. Her left palm does not stop bleeding. In any case, when Kevin Howard gets caught, act surprised. Say that he seemed like a nice person, a bit of a loner perhaps, but always quiet and polite. This is the photocopier room, and this is our view. Faces southwest. West is down there, toward the water. North is back there. Because we're on the 17th floor, we are afforded a magnificent view. Isn't it beautiful? It overlooks the park, where the tops of those trees are. You can see a segment of the bay between those two buildings there. You can see the sunset in the gap between those two buildings over there. You can see this building reflected in the glass panel of that building across the way. There. See? That's you waving. And look, there's Anika Bloom in the kitchenette waving back. Enjoy this view while photocopying. If you have problems with the photocopier, see Russell Nash. If you have any questions, ask your supervisor. If you can't find your supervisor, ask Philip Spears. He sits over there. He'll check with Clarissa Nix. She sits over there. If you can't find them, feel free to ask me. That's my cubicle. I sit there. Oh, gosh, I love the story. It's so realistic for office work, even though it's absurd, because you get the stupid gossip. You get the ridiculous amount of directions. You get all these things that you're supposed to remember, and you'll never remember, and who does what, and where things are, and where the office supplies are. And God, it's such a great story. I love it. Obscure, random, never heard of this author before. But anyways, hope you enjoyed that. Love you dearly. Check out my other videos if you want. Have a great evening.